Okay, so anyone who's keeping tabs on the crypto world probably knows about, about the big case, the Ripple and the SEC case. It's finally wrapped up, and it's been a wild ride.
It certainly has, yeah. For years, this has been kind of hanging over the market. I mean, introducing uncertainty, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, it's done. Big deal for sure. It's something you really need to understand.
Absolutely. And we've been looking at all the news and reports, trying to get to the heart of it all, like what actually happened and what it might mean going forward. I mean, especially the market reaction, right? Some surprising things there. So we want to look at that and then look at, what the future might hold for XRP.
Right. For context, this all goes back way back to December of 2020. That's when the SEC first filed the lawsuit against Ripple. The claim was that they were selling XRP as unregistered securities. A lot of money, too, like $1.3 billion. And you might remember what happened right after exchanges started delisting XRP and, some partnerships were put on hold. It had a big impact.
Huge impact. But it seemed like as the case went on, Ripple was making some really good points. There were court rulings that seemed to be going their way.
Yeah. And a key thing to remember is that the SEC's case against the top two people at Ripple, the executives, that got dismissed.
Right.
So that was a win for the company, for sure. Now, the SEC did get you could call it a smaller win. The judge ruled that Ripple had to pay penalties, $125 million in penalties.
Which is still a lot less than what the SEC wanted at first,
Yeah.
right? They wanted $2 billion.
Yeah.
And that's why they appealed back in 2024.
Exactly. So that brings us to the news from just last week. Ripple's CEO, he came out and said the legal battle is over. Basically, the SEC dropped their appeal. And then a little bit after that, Ripple's chief legal officer, he confirmed that they were dropping their appeal too. So after all that back and forth, it's finally finished.
And the final amount that Ripple has to pay the SEC is way lower, right? It's $50 million.
That's right, $50 million. So on the surface, you'd think this is great news for Ripple.
Right.
Lower penalty, appeals dropped, everything. So you'd think XRP's price would jump up.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people thought, myself included. I mean, when the news came out, XRP went up from like $2 to $2.60 really fast. It felt like a rally was starting.
But, well, crypto is unpredictable. Things didn't go that way. Those gains, they were gone almost immediately, back down below $2.50, and then the whole market kind of dipped. XRP went down even more.
What's the price now? Last time I saw it was around like $2.05. That's more than 20% down from the high last week.
Yeah, right around there. And that's affected its market cap ranking. The total value of all the XRP out there, it looks like it's probably lost its spot as the third largest. USDT has taken over. There's like a $25 billion difference between them now.
Wow, that's a big shift. And I was reading that one analyst, pretty well respected, thinks it could go down even more, like down to $1.20 if the $2 support level doesn't hold, which looks like it's being tested right now.
Yeah, it is. And this kind of price action, going down after good news, it makes you think about the sell the news idea. That's when, like, an asset goes down in price after positive news comes out. The thing about crypto is that speculation, it drives the prices so much. So even when there's good news, traders might have already priced it in, anticipating it. Then when the news actually comes out, they sell, take their profits.
So this whole thing with Ripple, even though they basically won the case, it might just be like a classic example of sell the news.
It could very well be. I mean, this case has been going on for so long. People have been waiting for it to end. So, yeah, it's very possible that a lot of people already figured a positive outcome was coming, and that was reflected in the price. And then when it actually happened, well, there wasn't much reason to keep buying. And then you have the profit taking, which probably pushed the price down.
That makes sense, thinking about how markets work, always looking ahead. But what about the future? The stuff we've been reading, it mentions some things that could still be good for XRP, things that could push the price back up. Like, what are those?
One of the big ones that people are talking about is an XRP ETF, an exchange-traded fund. The Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, those were huge. They brought in a lot of institutional investors, a lot of money. So now there's a lot of talk about whether other cryptos, including XRP, might get ETFs too.
An XRP ETF, I mean, that would make it easier for a lot more people to invest in XRP. Regular investors, institutional investors, especially the institutions, they like ETFs. It's more regulated than holding the crypto directly.
Absolutely. More access, more regulatory clarity, that's a recipe for, positive movement. And then there's the talk about Ripple, the company itself, going public, doing an IPO. That could bring in a ton of capital, and it would really legitimize the company, its business model, in the eyes of the wider investment community.
Ripple going public, that would be a big deal. Not just for Ripple, but for crypto in general. It would show that crypto is maturing, becoming more mainstream. But, and the articles mention this too, there's the other side of the coin.
Right.
What if all this, the ETF and the IPO, what if it's already priced in?
You're exactly right. The market, it's always looking ahead. People have been talking about these possibilities for a while. It's hard to say for sure how much of that future potential is already reflected in the price. It's complicated. You have all these dynamics, speculation about the future, current sentiment. And with the ETFs, I mean, they've been game changers for Bitcoin and Ethereum. But for XRP, it's different. The SEC, based on how they've acted before, they might not be so quick to approve an XRP ETF. So the timing, the impact, it's not as clear as it was with those other ETFs. And the IPO, sure, it could bring in money, but it also means more scrutiny for Ripple. Maybe things change how they operate. I mean, if an ETF or IPO was really close and people thought it was a sure thing, you'd think the market reaction to the lawsuit ending would have been more positive, more sustained. But we saw a quick reversal, which tells me maybe the market's being a bit more cautious. Maybe it's already accounting for those future possibilities.
So to sum it up, this big legal fight between Ripple and the SEC, it's finally done. Looks like a win for Ripple, right? Smaller penalty, appeals dropped. But the market reacted in a strange way. The price went down.
Yeah, and it seems like that's probably because of sell the news. People were expecting a good outcome. The price already reflected that. And then when it actually happened, well, they took their profit.
Right. But there's still stuff that could happen in the future that could be good for XRP. Maybe an XRP ETF in the US, maybe Ripple going public.
Okay.
But we have to remember, the market's smart. Maybe those things are already factored into the price. It really makes you think. This was a big win for Ripple, but the market didn't really react that way. So what does it tell us about crypto, about the long-term value? I mean, what happens when good news doesn't mean the price goes up? It's all connected. The news, how people are feeling, the potential for the future. Definitely something to think about as you try to figure out the crypto world, which is always changing.